Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Southern Woods and Waters. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We have got an exciting show for all of you, and we're going to be talking about a few different things, but tonight we're going to be mainly covering the early deer season and archery season. And we have got one very, very special guest in here with us tonight. I know a lot of you have already been talking about it back and forth with us on Facebook, and excited to have him in the house with us tonight. And I've got a couple of my other good buddies in here you're going to also recognize. So we've got a really good show, and here in a little while we're going to be taking you down to West Tennessee on a velvet hunt. And so we're going to have some excitement tonight. We're going to be talking some early season deer tactics. We're going to be talking deer foods, some different natural foods to be looking for right now, and different things that can help you get on the early season deer. So we can go ahead and pan out. I'll introduce everybody I got with me. Got Ryder McMullen with me, my buddy Duk Madere. So great to always have you guys down here with us.
Glad to be back.
And on the end, we got Matt Dale, and you guys, lots of you recognize him with Dale Outdoors. And thank you so much for being here tonight, Matt. It's a pleasure to have you. You know, I really look forward to talking with you tonight, just learning a little bit more about what all you have done over the years with Dale Outdoors. And just us sitting here chatting, I've learned more and more and more, and found out he's an old pro behind the camera. He's no problem behind the camera or in front of it. But Matt, you're most well known for Dale Outdoors, and you have a very large following there through YouTube and also Facebook, and I'm sure plenty of other different areas. And turkey hunting is kind of your mainstay. So that is turkey hunting kind of what you cut your teeth on, or?
No, actually I cut my teeth on deer hunting.
Okay.
And well, you know, of course, like everybody, you start out squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting with your dad, you know, when you're a kid. And then I always went deer hunting with him, you know, when I was little, just old enough to walk behind him. And then shot my first deer when I was 12. And really I killed my first turkey when I was 12, but then I kind of got out of turkey hunting and got more into fishing.
Yeah.
And he was a turkey hunter, and he'd always turkey hunted, but I loved the deer hunt, but I was about 17 really before I got into turkey hunting big time.
Yeah.
But once I called that first turkey in and by myself and watched him come in, that was it. Yeah, so
it was all over.
That was my passion. And I love the deer hunt. You know, I mean, that's what I'm doing down here now. I love deer hunting, but turkey hunting's just that's the drive for me.
Yeah.
You know, and I hunt my season anymore. It used to start, you know, like most people. I just hunt on home state and be 3 or 4 week season. Now my season has went from like 3 weeks to about 60 days.
You're pretty much on the road from the time it starts to the time it ends.
Starting south somewhere and then go all the way to them, you know. So I'm usually turkey hunting about 60 days of spring now.
Well, as far as that goes, do you think we've got, as for example, this year a change? Roger mentioned it earlier. Yeah. So here, our season's going to open up 2 weeks later. So do you think that's going to have a big effect on us not being able to have the early birds? I mean, do you think that's really going to change that?
It's going to have a big effect. In fact, it's probably going to be the toughest year for some people, because you're going to hit. I put turkey season rather in you know, like here in Tennessee in four stages. You got the early, then you got what I call the lockdown, where they're henned up, just terribly henned up, and it's really tough. And then you have that late season where it gets a little bit better. Then you have that really at the end of the season where it starts getting tough again. But yeah, y'all going to hit it really bad this year, right in the lockdown, where they're just henned up like crazy. So it's going to be interesting.
It will. It's going to be a lot of seeing them out in fields.
But they're going to have a bunch of hens.
You'll get to hear them gobbling and watch them, and it's you know, you're going to have to find a way to move on them.
It's going to be tough.
Big changes coming this spring. They've lowered the limits and changed this, but it is for the right reasons, guys. I mean, I believe they're making some advances, trying to get something figured out for our numbers. And we're talking archery throughout tonight as well. And part of that, though, Roger, to hit on this, is like our fall archery. In a lot of counties, we can take one bearded bird now with archery equipment. But a lot of the counties, and you guys down there where y'all are at, are some of them that you can't. So y'all make sure you check very clearly the regulations according to the county that you're in and the area that you're in, because, for example, where you guys will be hunting this weekend, you cannot shoot one.
We got farms in 4 counties and only one we can turkey hunt.
Okay. So but they're all in West Tennessee. So point being, there are some areas down there you can hunt them too. So you're gonna have a tough time. Big gobbler comes down in the morning.
It's gonna be tough.
Well, I know there's 4 or 5 of them over there too. That's real big, Brandon. They've been hanging around over there, and I'm like, man, they gonna come out on this dude, bro. He gonna be like drooling.
Yeah, you need to just have your head down, just walk on. You know.
Yeah. Well, with it being archery season, you are down here. You're down here, come down here deer hunting with these guys, and he just didn't know no better, so he come down here and hunt with Roger. That's what it was, wasn't it? But now y'all gonna have a great time. Roger, they got some fantastic places to hunt, and I can vouch for a lot of videos that have come off of that place. But nonetheless, what are y'all looking at right now? For example, like what is it you're trying to get Matt set up this weekend? How is it you're going to try to get him set up?
We're going to put him on a food plot, but, like I told you, the last couple of weeks, week and a half, we ain't had no bucks on camera. It's just like they just quit.
Yeah.
And me and a buddy of mine was talking today in Wisconsin, and they're having the same problem. And he said, I think the October lull come a little early this year. Is what everybody's saying. So,
well, it's something that you hear a lot, and a lot of people that have been watching deer all summer, whether it was on minerals or a little green field or something like that, all of a sudden, I've heard this from so many people in the last few weeks. My deer are gone. They're not on camera anymore. I've got a pretty good theory behind what's going on. What would you say about it, Matt? What do you think's changing up right now?
Well, without being on that particular piece of property, it's kind of hard to tell. But, I would say in years of course, I've deer hunted for 35 years. So, I mean, it's been a while. So, but usually when you have early season where they're on beans and corn, when they're on that pattern of food, then they just disappear.
Yeah.
It could be because the acorns are starting to drop, and when the acorns drop, they will walk through cornfields, they will walk through soybean fields just to get
on.
They will get right to that acorn patch. And if you can find that place on the property where they may not all be falling, but there may be just one little certain areas, and it's like they all get sucked into it. So you got to get off the fields and kind of back in. I mean, and then sometimes it could be weather. There's just a lot.
It can be a lot of things. But the directed thing is right now a deer's focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's food. And that particular food is acorns, and that's exactly what I told Roger on the phone the other day. I was like, man, I bet you somewhere around you there's 2 or 3 oak trees dropping that, and it pulls your deer, and it's like they just go extinct. But a lot of that's what's causing
and what's making it hard is, my yard's full of oak trees.
Yeah.
I don't have one tree with an acorn on it.
Yeah.
And I fertilize them every year.
But it's those few trees that have. That's like Matt said. It's those 3 or 4 trees, and if you can ever figure out those trees, there will be a dominant tree on that property usually. Sometimes 2 or 3, but that's where they're at right now. That's why they've disappeared off your green field. That's why they disappeared off your mineral site. That velvet has come off, and it is acorn time. And if you can find those white acorns, that's where you're probably going to find the bucks that disappeared off your cameras. But guys, let's go over right now and do this week's wild game forecast. This week's wild game forecast is being sponsored by our friends over at Wilson Bank and Trust. They've been taking care of all your banking and financial needs now for over 30 years. Be sure to stop in at one of their local branches and tell them thank you for all they do for us here at the show. All right, guys, so we kind of led into that a little bit, but our weather, we got a good front coming in this weekend. It's supposed to, first we thought it was going to be raining. Now it's looking like no rain, at least where we're at in the state and where you guys are. Now, for some of y'all that are watching in East Tennessee, y'all may get some rain this weekend, but I think we might be dealing with some wind, maybe some windy conditions, so you'll want to be careful of that, but I do think you're going to see deer. We got a good system coming through here, and I think it's going to have them on their feet. They're going to be up feet.
We're going to be set up at this weekend for Matt. I've been studying this place pretty close, Brandon, all off season. And me and Roger went out there this morning and set up a ground blind due to the wind. Anything coming out of the north is about killing us over there.
Right.
All the stand placements where we are on our food sources, we're on the north end of them.
Yeah.
So when the wind's coming out that north, it's bad. So what we did was we went out the other day and we went down in this gas pipeline and we set up on top of ridge where it's looking down at the very bottom of it. And we just planted a food plot in there, radish, clover, wheat, whatever, crimson. And it's starting to come up. The deer been there every day, does. I get a buck here and there to come in and out of it. But I'm thinking with that wind like it is, if it stays coming out that north, east, northwest, he'll be all right there, and we should be able, you know, even if, like I told Matt, I said, it's full of does. You know, I got some big bucks there. Don't get me wrong, they're there, but you know, man, I told him have some fun.
That's what, well, the key is those wind directions. You know, just keeping the wind direction right now is key. So having a couple of different stand locations like that, or being willing to go in and set up a blind last minute, that can save your tail, because if that wind's wrong, your days, I mean, you're done. I mean, if a deer comes in, it's over before it starts.
You know, I could easily go up ahead of him about 300 yards in the woods, and then go sit on the ground after I drop him off, and let the wind blow toward him. And they'll probably walk right in his lap. You know? I'll go put some cologne on for you, Matt. You know, you'll be smelling me too.
Well, guys, we want to remind y'all to follow us on Facebook. Keep up with us there. We'll let y'all know how we're doing on our adventures, and y'all can do the same with us. We'll be right back here in just a second with this week's Pictures of the Week and some more Southern Woods and Waters.